Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining me live. I'm going to be moving through my daily morning practice, and part of this initiative by me is to make sure that we show up for each other, that we're doing something. Even if you're just watching, it's fine. It helps me too. It helps me get up there and do stuff, basically. So I hope you're all well. Just a few things before I start. I'm not going to do this as you've seen my videos or my live classes on Facebook. I'm going to do this a little bit differently, where I'll just kind of say what I'm doing before I think I'm going to do it. And you're welcome to join me. Just know that the instruction will not be that thorough. I'll basically say what pose I'm going to move into. So yeah. Just give me a shout out if you're watching. Let me know where you're watching from. And I'm going to jump on my mat. All right. So if you're going to practice with me, go ahead and jump on your mat as well. You can see I have a tennis ball ready to go. And if you have one around, go ahead and grab it if you're joining me. I'm just going to start by rolling out my feet. My feet are very sore this morning for whatever reason. I think maybe because I was in the kitchen a lot last night or yesterday. Rolling out the feet is a good way to open up the fascia well, there's the most of it in the hands and the feet. When you roll out the feet, it helps to get some of the fluid moving, and it does resonate up through the rest of the body. Or so they say. I'm going to make sure I get my toes and my heel as well. And then I switch to the other side. All right, so now that I've done that, see a tennis ball, I make my way into downward facing dog. Gently pedaling through the feet, moving the hips around. Since for me it's first thing in the morning, it's nice to get a little bit of movement. Just nice, gentle hip, knee, ankle, foot motion. Then walking my hands back to Uttanasana. Bending the knees and letting my ribs fall onto the thighs. Take my hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers and getting a nice shoulder stretch here. Releasing the hands down, inhaling, lifting halfway up. Exhaling, folding once again. Inhaling, lifting halfway. Exhale, folding, walking forward into a plank position. I'm going to stay here for a few breaths. And pressing back to downward facing dog. Moving on to a twisted three-legged dog, right leg lifts up and back. And inhaling, straightening the leg, exhale, stepping it through, and finding my low lunge with a little bit of a twist. Coming back through center, finding my downward facing dog again. Twisted three-legged dog on the other side, left leg up and back. Stay here for about 3 breaths or so. Straightening out the leg, finding low lunge on the other side with a twist. Coming back through center, I'm going to step it back and find child's pose. From here, finding downward facing dog. And bringing the right leg up and back into a 3-legged dog. And exhaling, stepping it through. I'm going to find warrior 1. Getting settled into warrior 1 is always fun in the morning. The hips and the lower back, at least mine, don't always love this pose right off the bat. So I like to take a little time to settle in. And one of my all-time favorite poses, humble warrior. Hopefully I can do without falling over this morning. Lifting the head and come forward into standing split. Apparently this morning is a little more active. And from here, half lord of the fish. Tucking that left knee behind the right ankle, sitting down, and giving a nice spiral. Back, finding downward facing dog. And vinyasa. Moving on to the left, 3-legged dog to warrior 1. Second side is always a different story, right? Moving into humble warrior. Always moving the second thumb on top for the second side. And then exhaling forward. Lifting the head, finding standing split. And then moving into half lord of the fish, inhaling, lifting the head, bending both knees, sitting down and twisting to the left. Coming back through center, finding downward facing dog. And from here, take a vinyasa. Moving into 3-legged dog again, this time making it a twist. Going a little bit deeper, a little bit further. Now my body's a little bit warmed up. Inhale, straighten the leg. Exhale, step it through. I guess I'm coming to warrior one again. Hopefully this time it feels a little bit better. Oh yes, it does. Been here before, body knows where it's going now. It's a little bit more warmed up. So if you've ever taken, recently taken any of my classes, I like to build. So I'll start with a small phrase and then start to add on poses as we go. So I want to do just that. Finding humble warrior. Moving into standing split. And instead of half lord of the fish, I'm going to come up into warrior three. And then up to my favorite, tree pose. I think I'm ready for this. Moving into eagle pose. So left arm underneath the right, bending the standing knee, releasing the left leg and crossing it around. Sometimes this pose feels like a nice big hug in the morning. Sometimes it just feels like, oh my God, why am I in this? All good. Whatever comes up, comes up. And gently untangle everything, find my standing split again. Ooh, hello balance. Now come into that half lord of the fish, coming down to sit and twisting to the right. Coming back through center and stepping back to downward facing dog. I'm feeling like I need a half sun salutation here, so I'm going to step forward in between sides. And I'll take a full sun salutation to get back to the left side. And so I go to the left. Three-legged dog with a twist. Moving into that warrior one. And finding humble warrior with the opposite thumb on top. Lifting the head, standing split. Moving into warrior three from here, head lifts, standing leg bends. Coming all the way up to the balance, embrace the wobbles. And that standing leg. And then coming up into tree. Moving into eagle, this time the right arm comes underneath. And the right leg is on top. Untangling, finding that standing split again. And finding half lord of the fish. Spiraling around to the left. back through center, finding downward facing dog. And what the heck, let's vinyasa again. Coming up to the top of the mat, finishing out our sun salutation, inhale, lifting halfway. Exhale, folding. Then inhale, reverse, one back. So I'm going to move into warrior two from here, but because my camera angle is a strange one today, I admit that, I'm going to turn to the back of my mat just so that I can be a little bit more open to the space in the room. I'm going to take the right leg, left leg, and step back. Finding warrior two. So I'm going to talk a little bit less through this, but basically what I'm going to do is move into reverse warrior, and then into extended side angle, into reverse warrior, and into triangle pose. And I'll probably repeat this a couple times. I may not narrate this part because I want to connect more so with my breath. And if I'm talking through it, I won't be able to connect. So again, that's reverse warrior to extended side angle, reverse warrior to triangle pose. And I'm going to go through a few times. One more full round. I'm going to stay here in triangle pose for a few more breaths. Inhale and coming all the way up. Exhale, hands to the waist, turn the toes to the long edge of the mat, and moving into Prasarita. It's basically just a forward fold. So letting the arms come out, and then exhale, bend at the hips, and let the head fall down towards the ground. The more you turn the toes in here, and if you can see, I'm going to start to tilt my hips a little bit to the right. I'm going to bend my right knee. Sometimes you can get a nice stretch in the outer calf. This definitely gets the inner thighs. I'm going to move back from side to side. One more time each side. And inhaling, coming through center. Exhale, bending the knees. And then inhaling, coming all the way up. And warrior two on the second side. So same flow again, reverse warrior to extended side angle, reverse warrior to triangle pose. And my magic number has always been 3, so we're going to go for 3 rounds. last round. Staying in triangle pose now for a few breaths. And this time stepping up to the top of the mat and shaking it all out. Good, so I think that's enough standing poses for now. Nice and sweaty. I'm gonna bring myself back down to the mat. Inhaling, sweeping up. Exhale, diving forward. Inhale, lifting halfway. Exhaling, hands onto the mat, finding your way back to plank. Vinyasa or not, if you're doing with me, you can skip the vinyasa if you'd like. And finding child's pose. Gently rolling up from here. And I'm really feeling like the insides, my inner thighs need a little bit more opening. So I'm actually gonna move into frog pose. This pose can be a little bit intense. If you are doing this with me, make sure that you have cushion underneath your knees. So the knees slide out, the legs are roughly at 90 degrees. And be mindful that your hips stay in line with the knees. And then you fold forward from there. Generally speaking, I stay in poses about 3 to 5 breaths, sometimes more. And the reason for this is so that I can actually get settled into the pose. The body does start to open up, especially since we're warm, our blood's flowing. And also sometimes I don't feel the stretch until much later, into like maybe the 5th or 7th or even the 10th breath. And everybody's body is different. You may feel this right from the start, and that's okay too. If it gets too intense for you and you're practicing with me, you can just gently ease out of it and go into child's pose. Okay, so now the tricky part is getting out when you're in this position. So I'm gonna try this way. Inching one leg at a time. Oh yeah. I'm going to extend one leg back and just give a gentle press into the heel. Just so that the hip flexor can straighten out a little bit. I'm going to switch to the other side. And then from here, sitting down, letting the legs extend out in front. I feel like getting a little bit more twisty. Pardon me, I still have a little morning voice going on. So sitting with the legs out, I'm going to inhale the left arm up. As I exhale, I'm going to twist to the right, keeping the hips solid where they are. So sometimes what happens is that the hips go in. If you can see, my feet have now separated and one knee is higher than the other. We want to avoid that, keeping the sit bones nice and strong into the mat. Twist from the waist and then reach forward, left hand to the right foot. The other hand can do what you want it to do on the waist, binding it behind the back, making you a little bit more stability, or placing it to the side. This opens up the lower back, the hamstring, the glute, and works your abdominals or your core all at the same time. Inhaling, coming up. Good morning, lower back. Switching to the other side. center, exhaling, gently releasing. And I'm gonna flip around and lay on my back here. And I've found that recently this reclined pigeon pose is my new favorite way of stretching the outer hip and thigh. I find that it keeps my hips, the pelvis has two pieces, right? So when you're in an extreme, like a split, so one thigh bone is going forward and the other one is going back, it actually turns the pelvis ever so slightly, and this could cause some issues in the sacral area, which is the base of your pelvis. And I have actually experienced that, lucky me. So this is a little bit more sacrum friendly because the thigh bones are both in the same direction, but it still targets that outer hip. I'm going to gently release, shake it out, and go to the other side. Releasing that out, giving it a good shake. Bring the feet flat. Before I move into a full bridge pose, I'm going to do some glute and hamstring work. Let's just be honest, we need booties that stay lifted as we get older, so this is part of the reason why I'm doing all this glute work coming up right now. So bear with me. We're going to stay in a parallel position, the knees slightly separated, and we're going to push up and then squeeze at the top and then gently lower down. I have no idea how many I'm going to do. We'll see how it goes. Let's do 4 more. Gently lowering down. Well, this next one that I've gotten off of this awesome YouTube person, and I can't remember her name right now, but I will look it up, and next time we chat, I will let you know what her name is. I think her first name's Addie. Anyway, she's got this great glute workout, and this will work the gluteus medius, which is the one on the outside, the one that handles rotation of the thigh. So the bottoms of my feet are together, pinky edges of the feet are on the mat, and I'm going to do the same thing, a hip lift from here. So starting with a nice inhale, squeeze at the top. Four more. You might have felt that, well, if you're doing it with me, you may have felt that in your inner thighs as well. Totally normal. They're working as well. The whole hip joint is working to stabilize and lift and stretch and all that good stuff. So one last thing for the glutes and hamstrings. This time my inner thighs and feet are together as close as possible. Hands come down. We're going to tap into a little Pilates work. Lifting the hips, being mindful that you're nice and straight, or as straight as you can be on the legs and the hips. Now the right leg will extend, keep the knees squeezing together and be mindful that the hips stay parallel. We're gonna do the same thing, drop the hips and lift them up. Just don't rest down there. Just a gentle brushing of the mat and then you lift right back up. Probably do about 10. Make sure you squeeze at the top. I think one more. Keep your hips up, foot comes down, then lower the hips. Yeehaw. All right, moving to the other side. Starting the same way. This time the left leg extends, knees stay side by side. Inhale as you lower, exhale as you lift and squeeze. One more. Keep the hips up, foot comes down, and release. Yowza. Arms out to the side, give a little rock from side to side. Good. So I'll do one more thing before moving into Shavasana. And that's a bridge pose. So this will open up the entire front of the body. And so feet are wide again, about the width of your hips apart. Arms down. Now that the glutes and hamstrings are nice and warm, they can support the bridge pose. So we're going to roll up onto the shoulders, tuck the shoulder blades underneath, find your bridge. I'm going to go a little bit deeper today, bringing the heels of my hands under the pelvic bones, and then pressing them away from my heart. So they're moving towards the knees. This is a nice stretch through the belly in the front of the hips. Let's see where my balance is today. Gently releasing down. Don't move the legs if you're doing this with me, just stay flat. Experience whatever's happening through the spine, the hips, the legs. Moving into Shavasana now, letting the legs extend long. I'll probably stay here for about 10 to 15 breaths, as long as I can keep myself counting the breaths. I feel like I need a little bit more time here, so I'm going to take some more breaths. starting to wake up the hands and feet, wrists and ankles. Giving a nice stretch through the body. Hugging the knees in towards the chest and giving a little rock from side to side. From here, rolling onto the right side, pardon my back. And then gently pressing up. And take a few moments here just to settle back into my breath and my body. And take the opportunity to feel what's happening. Namaste. So if you're still hanging in there, if you're still watching, thank you for joining me. Hope that if you practiced with me, you enjoyed it. I'm going to try again, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to do this every morning as long as I'm willing to for the month of April, just so that we can continue to show up for one another. My YouTube channel, good news, my YouTube channel has been re-enabled. I don't know why they shut it down, but apparently it's a thing that's happening on YouTube because now they have a disclaimer. Anyway, all my pre-recorded videos are there with full instruction so that you can follow along a little bit better with those if this was a little bit challenging to follow. So I hope you have a beautiful day or a beautiful evening wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you tomorrow. Namaste. Be well. Bye.